Oh, we're back in business. Some of it's coming up. Oh, fantastic. Oh, we're online, are we? My goodness. Who we got? Daily Motion, Twitch. Oh, looks like we're online, guys. Let's crack on here. Hello, my baby gorillas. And let's see what I've got for you guys today. What have we got here? Let's break this down. First Minister speaking at TED. Really an incredible thing, Ted. An incredible thing. So let's have a wee breakdown and see what the First Minister's saying.
Just over a mile away from here, in Edinburgh's Old Town, is Panmure House. Panmure House was the home of the world-renowned Scottish economist Adam Smith. In his important work, The Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith argued, amongst many other things, that the measurement of a country's wealth was not just its gold and silver reserves, it was the totality of the country's production and commerce. I guess it was one of the earliest descriptions of what we now know today as gross domestic product, GDP. Now, in the years since, of course, that measurement of production and commerce, GDP, has become ever more important, to the point today, and I don't believe this is what Adam Smith would have intended, that it is often seen as the most important measurement of a country's overall success. And my argument today is that it is time for that to change.
I agree, it's not the most important thing to measure in a country's success, but to grow the economy. If you do not grow the economy, you either stagnate or get poorer. So I'm not sure what Nicola is actually going to elaborate on. Well, I do know what she's going to elaborate on, but I'll let her go on and then we'll deconstruct it. But I mean, it is literally nonsense. And this is coming from a lawyer. This is a lawyer talking about economics. This is a big problem. It's like me talking about the law to Nicola Sturgeon. It's not something that she understands or acknowledges or even has, or maybe she does have it. Maybe she has got the globalist agenda, which is reduction in population and reduction in the wealth to actually be able to sustain families and things like that as well. Maybe that's where this is coming from, because it's very hard to understand that a First Minister would waffle on this much about something that is, I mean, she's literally talking nonsense.
You know, what we choose to measure as a country matters. It really matters because it drives political focus, it drives public activity.
Well, what she seems to be measuring Scotland on is the postmodernist, intersectional, racist Marxism that came out of the Frankfurt School in Germany. That seems to be what the First Minister is actually putting forward as something to value, which I have got zero value in.
And against that context, I think the limitations of GDP as a measurement of a country's success is all too obvious. GDP...
Why is it obvious? It is obvious if somebody is making a lot of money through their innovations. So, for example, just now in California, California has done tremendous things on the internet. Google, Facebook, Amazon, LinkedIn. I mean, all of these contribute to the GDP of California, one of the richest places in the world. so that innovation, and it helps other people to have a better standard of living and a better life. The GDP is the product of innovations and being able to bring forward advancements to the world. So the GDP in itself is not the most important thing, but the GDP is significant of the innovations that a country actually innovates and brings forward. And it's listening as somebody who is involved in finance to somebody who's a lawyer talking nonsense about GDP. Well, she's not talking nonsense. She's saying that the GDP in itself is desirable, but GDP is just a product of innovations and wealth generation within a country. That wealth generation, like Google, goes worldwide. So, I mean, and this shows you why Nicola Sturgeon can't grow the economy, because she doesn't want to.
Measures the output of all of our work.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right, Nicola. So if we're not working, which you managed to get us to do during the pandemic, that's only killing people over the age of the natural death rate, you've managed to shut down the whole economy. I mean, it's quite incredible. I knew before that, I had a feeling that you weren't able to grow the economy. It's small start-up businesses that grow the economy, Nicola. It's not this airy-fairy nonsense that you're just about to flow into.
Nothing about the nature of that work.
It doesn't matter what the nature of the work is. The work is, it could be me setting up my website businesses from my house. It could be absolutely anything. It's not for you as First Minister to start to evaluate what you find good work and what isn't good work.
Work is worthwhile or fulfilling.
Well, that's good, and sometimes work isn't worthwhile and not fulfilling, but it still needs to be done.
It puts a value, for example, on illegal drug consumption, but not...
Well, that's because there's that's you going on to economics, wants and needs. So there's a want for illegal drug consumption. That's why it is supplied, that people want to take drugs at some level at some point. So it's not a need, is it? It's not. You don't need to take drugs. You can say no, I'm not taking drugs.
On unpaid care.
Well, if it's unpaid care, then it's unpaid care, isn't it? People have been caring for people, and you will be getting some sort of income. You've got you're talking about the universal basic income, which would, and you've also got employment benefit. So you are getting some redistribution of wealth for taking care of somebody who is probably in your family. If you're doing unpaid care for somebody else, then that's quite nice as well, but that's sort of charitable work. I do things that I don't expect to get paid for just because I'm actually being nice. For example, changing the Scottish education system so that other people don't have to go through the disgrace that I went through.
It values activity in the short term that boosts the economy.
Yes, which is completely correct. I mean, the fact that you don't understand that is just absolutely mind-blowing, that you're the First Minister and not understand that. Let me just rewind that, because that's just absolutely mind-blowing and stupid.
On illegal drug consumption, but not on unpaid care.
Because unpaid care is literally charity work. Why don't you set up if you want to just set up a GoFundMe now on somebody else's thing that you're moaning about, somebody else's website that you're moaning about, for him actually then facilitating the ability for you to actually then make it paid care. If people want to then contribute to your unpaid care, or you being a caregiver, then people can do it through GoFundMe or whatever other platforms they want to use now. You can just say, I'm an unpaid carer, can you help me fund me? That's all you need to do.
It values activity in the short term.
Well, not just the short term, Nicola, also the long term. It gives long term value to people. That's why if it's a business or even a social enterprise, it retains value. If it's not providing a value or a service or a product, then it doesn't retain any value. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
That boosts the economy. even if that activity is hugely damaging to
the vast majority of businesses are not hugely damaging. There's probably a very small proportion of businesses that are hugely damaging to the environment or to anything else. Significantly small. And you still need to innovate from these businesses anyway. So it's irrelevant what you're saying, whether something's hugely damaging. I want examples of what companies are hugely damaging just now to the Scottish economy, which is what your job is, the Scottish economy and the Scottish environment.
Sustainability of our planet.
Oh, sustainability. Well, yeah, you start to reuse, do renewable things, start to use plastics that have already been brought up. I think you can heat the plastics and turn them back into oil, and then they can be turned back into plastics again. So you can do renewable things. You don't have to bury them to reduce the amount of waste in the economy. There's many ways to actually do this. Plant more trees.
In the longer term. And when we reflect on the past decade of political and economic upheaval, of growing inequalities.
But even under a communist system, it's going to be unequal because there'll be some people like yourself at the top and others who are not at the top. All you can hope for is the fact that you have the ability to be able to go up the tree and you're not going to be hampered. That's the only thing that you could actually do.
And when we look ahead to the challenges of the climate emergency.
Well, Scotland was under a mile of ice 25,000 years ago. So I would have thought they would be more worried about the climate emergency way back then. Plant more trees. Why don't you do what I do? Name it after me, David Ballantyne's Plant a Tree Day, and plant more trees. Soaks up the CO2, makes the place look lovely. Fantastic job done. And also you can obviously do the renewables. You've done quite well with the renewables. I think that's about one of the few things you've done well.
Increasing automation, an ageing population. Then I think...
Well, that's great. So robots are going to do the jobs that boring jobs that we could have done. So that's just going to free up time. But there's still going to have to be coders. There's still going to have to people that develop the automated system. This thought of automation. And I think they used to do this when the Industrial Revolution started, that nobody was going to have a job. And obviously that proved infallible. I mean, it's a bit naysaying for a politician, this, Nicola.
The argument for, the case for a much broader definition of what it means to be successful as a...
Well, I mean, there's multiple ways to be successful. I found one of the most rewarding and successful things I did was to change the Scottish education system. I wasn't rewarded for it. I didn't get any notable accolades for it, but it certainly happened, and I certainly was involved in it. And I think I've helped a lot of people who wouldn't know that it's me that's done it. It's life in a positive manner.
The society is compelling and increasingly so. And that is why Scotland in 2018 took the initiative in establishing a new network called the Wellbeing Economies Governments Group.
You can see where your taxpayers' money is getting totally wasted, can't you? I mean, you can just see it. The what? Let me just rewind this. The well-being. Oh, is this the? This is almost like Orwellian. The feel good department.
Economies Governments Group, bringing together as founding members the country group called the Wellbeing Economies Governments Group, bringing together as founding members the countries of Scotland, Iceland and New Zealand.
Oh yeah, Scotland, Iceland and New Zealand. I'm sure that's going to be very easy to get to.
For obvious reasons, we're sometimes called the sin countries, although our focus is very much on the common good.
Oh.
And the purpose of this group is to challenge that focus on the narrow measurement of GDP, to say that yes...
No, what you need to do is grow your economy. I mean, so you are only tax and spend. You're not helping small businesses. In fact, you've just destroyed thousands of this lockdown nonsense that you've actually done. You've destroyed thousands of businesses. So, and you've not made my well-being or many other people who have got long-term diseases or fatal diseases or people who have committed suicide. You've not made their well-being any better, have you, Nicola? And you're still failing to grow the economy, which the economy requires to grow. I mean, it's pretty stupid. This far left sustainability nonsense. I mean, it's just absolute twaddle as usual from the left.
Growth matters.
It's imperative, because if you don't grow the economy, then it'll go backwards or it'll stagnate, and then your living standards will go back comparative to other countries. So it's imperative that you get a growth, Nicola. And the fact that you don't know that is exactly why you're well past your sell-by date in your current job.
Important, but it is not all that is important.
It's the most significant thing, apart from having children as well. So we're not having 3 or more children. We've got a negative population decline. And you've not really been instrumental in promoting women actually having children, have you?
And growth in GDP should not be pursued at any or all cost.
Nobody's saying that, Nicola. Absolutely nobody's saying that. But you seem to have got this sort of environmental fascism that all businesses are really going to be very harmful. It's just nonsense. It's just absolute waffle. This is a sort of far left green agenda. I think you've been listening to Rees-Mogg too long, and Rees-Mogg being the Marxist. This sort of, most important thing is the environment, and yeah, it's important, but I mean, it could be the sun that's heating the planet. It might be nothing to do with industrialisation, but plant more trees. Simple. When are you going to start planting more trees?
In fact, the argument of that group is that the goal, the objective of economic policy should be collective well-being.
How are you going to? I mean, that you might as well just say you want Peter Pan to come with Wendy and fight the crocodile. How the hell are you going to measure that? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard a politician say, and I've heard a lot of ridiculous things from politicians. How are you going to measure that? I don't feel better because you're in charge. I think all the disastrous things you've done has made my well-being worse, not better. And I'm sure I'm not alone there.
How happy?
I'm not happy, no. And I don't think a lot of other people are happy. I think you're on a shaky peg right now. Not even from the fact of what you're doing with Alex Salmond, but I think your management of the economy and management of this situation has destroyed thousands of jobs. And I think you're going to see a real pushback on you, Nicola. Very interesting to see the smaller parties getting bigger.
And healthy a population is.
Now, my health is down to me. I do things, I've got personal agency and responsibility over my own body and my own things. If there's something that I can't do or that I get a disease, then comes to the NHS. But that's already set up. And that you doing this and saying this rubbish, not twaddle, and saying that, we don't want to grow the economy, but we're going to look after your well-being. Maybe my well-being, I want to settle down, have a family, and I want to, through the growth in the economy, get richer and be able to have children and then obviously for future generations. But I don't you telling me how to be happy. Well, who are you? Nothing. You're the government. You're just meant to be doing a minimal amount of stuff to keep it ticking over and just stick your wee beak out it.
Not just how wealthy a population.
No. I prefer to be wealthy, thank you. I prefer, in the wealthier, the larger the amount of money, the greater the wealth disparity will be to the people who are not as wealthy. It could become with government redistribution, could come with other things as well. But the wealthier you are, and the wealthier the country is, the higher the standard of living. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I don't want you holding people back. I'll hold you back, but you'll be dead happy. Don't worry, I'll hold you back. Are you happy now? That's great. No, but we don't want to grow the economy. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This is why you need to go. This is why I am going to get you to go. because you need to go. You're not competent.
And I'll touch on the policy implications.
I wish you would touch on the job centre
in a moment, but I think, particularly in the world we live in today, it has a deeper resonance. You know, when we focus on well-being, we start a conversation.
Oh, I really want the government getting involved in my well-being, which is a complete Trojan horse. I'm not even a Trojan horse, it's more like a flying horse, like a Pegasus. Oh, you're going to get me a Pegasus, Nicola? Oh, yeah, oh, that's great. That's great. But you don't want us to grow the economy or get wealthier, but you want us to be happy. That's nice, Nicola. I mean, it's just nonsense. Any normal person listening to this absolute drivel with an IQ would say, what are you talking about? Are you wasting my taxpayers' money on this absolute guff?
That provokes profound and fundamental questions. What really matters to us?
You leaving Parliament, that matters to me. You not being re-elected. The SNP now not being re-elected. I was looking forward to the SNP coming in, but oof, dear, what a mistake I made.
In our lives, what do we value in the communities we live in?
Well, you're trying to destroy them, aren't you? You're trying to destroy the communities through the open door immigration policy that you've got. There's trying to sabotage them. Your bad architecture from your postmodernist point of view, which you're obviously spewing just now, postmodernist Marxist point of view. I can see you've got your red communist pantsuit on like Hillary Clinton.
What kind of country, what kind of
one hopefully that you're not the leader of.
Society do we really...
One that you're not going to imprison comedians. That would be a good society. One that you're not going to bring thought policing in and put people in jail for 7 years.
Want to be. And when we engage people in those questions and finding the answers to those questions, and I believe that we have a much better chance of addressing the alienation.
No.
Disaffection from politics that is so
prevalent since you've taken over.
Prevalent in so many countries across the developed world today.
Yeah, well, thanks to you.
In policy terms, this journey for Scotland started back in 2007 when we published what we call our National Performance Framework.
Oh, I'm sure that's another total waste of money.
Looking at the range of indicators that we measure ourselves against, and those...
Failing education system, failing health service, you can't even get the air ducts to work, the ventilation in the hospital's got to still closed. I don't know, you obviously don't want to grow the economy, you've just made that, but some fanciful, we'll be happy in our own poverty. It seems to be your sort of aspiration, Nicola. Oh, great, very clever.
Indicators are as varied as income inequality.
There's always going to be income inequality. Even in your communist utopia, there would be income inequality, because there would still be somebody at the top and the workers at the bottom, probably with less rights, under an authoritarian left-wing regime.
Happiness of children, access to green spaces, access...
Well, we've already got them, we've got parks. I can walk outside 5 minutes in a green space. So what's happening there? Probably the badly designed socialist hellholes that have popped up all across Scotland that may not have the green spaces. Well, even them, I was to think there'll be some closeness to green space. Glasgow's got a huge amount of parks and green spaces all over the place. So again, this is another, what are you talking about? That green, don't worry, you won't have any money because Nicola's decided that growth and GDP and entrepreneurship and developing businesses isn't the most important thing. And we, Nicky's life, it's going to the park. Oh yes, I'm the First Minister, and going to the park is much more important than growing the economy. Get out, get out, get out.
To housing. None of these.
Oh, housing, well, I'm in the house, we're all in houses. What is most important, that the individual owns the house or has the right to buy the house? A reintroduction of the right to buy.
In GDP statistics, but they are all fundamental to a healthy and a happy society.
Yeah, the richer I am, the happier I am.
And that broader. broader approach.
I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, it is absolute nonsense. I don't know why they're clapping. It's just absolute waffle.
Is at the heart of our economic strategy, where we give...
I mean, we don't grow the economy, but as long as they're close to a park and you've got your council house, that's you set up.
Equal importance to tackling inequality.
Well, you're not going to make any... all right, I see. So you're not going to allow people to grow the economy and start businesses and develop, and for them to go on. What you'll do is hold everybody back. Oh, for the communist utopia, I can't wait.
We do to economic competitiveness.
Yeah, you're not going to be economically competitive because you just said you're not interested in GDP or the growth in the economy. You absolute clown.
Drives our commitment to fair work, making sure that work is fulfilling and well paid.
Why is that? What's that got to do with you? You're the government. That's up to the person that's running the business. Why, if I'm running a business, why would I want you, who's getting paid through the taxpayer's purse for your mortgage and your salary, you're getting paid off the businessman's purse to facilitate that? What do you know about running a business? Why are you interfering in my business? I should be the one that's telling, because there might be circumstances within the business that it's better for me to not have the rigidity of the regulation from the MSPs, who have never probably run a business in their life, actually imposed upon me.
It's behind our decision to establish a Just Transition Commission to guide...
What? A Just Transmission? You've got more commissions than the KGB. What is that? What are you? A Just Transition Commission? Transition? Are you transitioning from a lesbian woman to a transvestite man?
Our path to a carbon zero economy. We know from...
Oh, a carbon zero economy. Fantastic. You know, when I'm sleeping at night, I'm thinking, do I want to grow an economy? Do I want to grow the business? No, I'm more interested in a zero carbon emission economy. That's really important for me. I personally don't, I'm not really that fussed. If we reduce, say everybody you reduced all CO2 and the world was still warming, what are you going to do then, Nicky? How are you going to solve that wee conundrum?
From economic transformations of the past, that if we're not careful, there are more losers than winners. And
the losers and winners, well, that's just sometimes the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? Losers and winners, do some redistribution of wealth, get Milton Friedman in, do the negative income tax so that those on the bottom have got a decreasing a negative income tax, where the more money they earn, the less they get of this negative income tax, but at least it gives a safety net for them and a way to get out of poverty.
As we face up to the challenges of climate change and automation, we must not make those mistakes again. What we're doing here is...
Well, you're not going to make the same mistakes again if you get renewables and getting CO2s off the cars, and if you get renewable things instead of burying things, start to do things that will actually help, rather than actually wasting things and put it back in the ground, which seems mental. You've just dug it up the ground to put it back in the ground. Surely we would be able to renew some of the things that we use every day.
Scotland is, I think, significant, but we have much to learn from other countries. I mentioned a moment ago our partner nations in the Wellbeing Network, Iceland and New Zealand.
I don't really know much about Iceland, but Nacinda, or Horsey Face, let's just call her Horsey Face, is a complete clown.
It's worth noting, and I'll leave it to you to decide whether this is relevant or not, that all three of these countries are currently led by women.
Well, you're not very good, so I don't know what you want me to say. You're rubbish. I mean, you, out of all the First Ministers since the Scottish Parliament has taken up, been the worst. So I don't know why you think you're doing a great job. Though I think a lot of people want independence, and that's why you're getting the votes. I think if you were up without the independence single issue on the pipeline, you would get absolutely destroyed. I don't think you'd be First Minister. Woo, I've got vagina and I'm in charge. Yeah. But I've not got any kids, So if women look to me as inspiration, then we're all going to die out as a country because she's not had any kids. There's a lot of homosexuals in the Scottish Parliament that have not had any kids. So if we look to you for the demographic decrease that we've got in our society, then we've got real problems.
They too are doing great work. New Zealand in 2019 publishing its first wellbeing budget.
So New Zealand's wasting money just like you. Get two women in charge and not wasting money. I don't want to grow the economy, but I'll do some absolute rubbish about wellbeing. Right, well, my wellbeing's not going very well since you've been the First Minister. And I like a lot of other people, so what are you going to say to that, Nikki?
Mental health at its heart. Iceland leading the way on equal pay, childcare.
Equal pay. I thought, what do you mean equal pay? What is equal pay? Are we living in some sort of communist society? Are you going to give me half of your pay so that we're equal, Nicola? Can't wait for that. Let's go. Let's go give us your equal pay, Nicola.
Maternity rights.
Iceland didn't have maternity rights. That's pretty crazy.
Policies that we immediately
not that you'd need them.
When we talk about creating a wealthy economy, but policies that are fundamental.
Alright, so we don't want to have a wealthy economy. We want Auntie Nicola to waste taxpayers' money on the feel-good department within the Scottish Parliament. Oh yeah, that's what we want. That's when I look to put my X in the box for the ballot, at the vote, and the general election. I want somebody to make me feel good and spend money wasted on a feel good department rather than growing the economy, you absolute clown.
A healthy economy and a happy society.
I'm not happy. I think you're doing a terrible job. When are you leaving?
I started with Adam Smith.
Yeah, and he's not your fan. You're more of a Karl Marx type of girl, aren't you, Nikki?
And the wealth of nations.
Yeah, you're more Des Capital. And the protected classes comes from the Jewish question, isn't it? Some of us have read Karl Marx. We know what you're all about with your red stilettos, your red flannel suit, and your alleged lesbianism.
In Adam Smith's earlier work,
he said, don't vote for Nicola Sturgeon. Robert the Bruce will be turning in his grave knowing that you're in charge. I think under your stewardship, his monument get vandalised. Wonder who did that. Maybe the same people that are raping children in Glasgow.
Theory of moral sentiments, which I think is just as important. He made the observation that the value of any government is judged in proportion to the extent that it makes its people happy.
Yeah. Why would the government be making people happy? And what business is it yours on what happiness is? Just do your job and grow the economy.
I think that is a good founding principle for any group of countries.
No. Your job is not to make me happy. Your job is to create the environment so that we can grow the economy.
Focused on promoting well-being.
Nobody's interested in you promoting well-being, and that's an abstract concept. What definition are you going to have of this well-being? What is well-being? Just an abstract concept.
None of us have all of the answers.
You've got none of them.
Not even Scotland, the birthplace of Adam Smith.
Yeah, well, he was certainly a lot better than Karl Marx, which is obviously your hero.
But in the world we live in today, with growing divides and inequalities, with disaffection and alienation, it is more important than ever that we ask and find the answers to those questions and promote a vision of society that has well-being, not just wealth at its very.
Absolute nonsense. Don't vote SNP, don't vote for Sturgeon.
Heart. You are, right now.
I don't understand how Andy clapped for that, it's just absolute nonsense.
You are right now in the beautiful, sunny capital city of the country that led the world in the Enlightenment.
Yeah, and unfortunately you went for the people who killed 100 million people from their ideology with Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, didn't you, Nicola? With your policies. I mean, people who don't understand politics will not understand where your policies are coming from. And they're not coming from Adam Smith and the Enlightenment, which is what I follow. They're coming from Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, whose ideology killed 100 million people, who now reiterated, they had to rethink Marxism from the Frankfurt School, and they came up with this anti-white, anti-liberal, racist Marxism that is now part of what your makeup is with your intersectionality. You're a wee postmodernist Marxist, racist Marxist against your own people, Nicola.
The country that helped lead the world into the industrial age, the country that...
You're never going to help you. You can lead yourself out of a paper bag.
Right now is helping to lead the world into the low carbon age.
Well, that's great, but that's great, and it may have long-term effects, but it's not about short-term effects on my well-being, Nicola. What would have short-term effects is growing the economy. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Because that would increase everybody's wealth and everybody would be able to do more. And we have more opportunities. You and your well-being, let's all be well-being and all that. Oh, yeah, that's great. Probably wasted. I don't know how much money is going to be wasted in this department of bullshit.
I want, and I'm determined that Scotland will also be the country that helps change the focus of countries and governments across the world.
I don't think you're going to be there long enough, to be honest with you, Nicola. I think after people see what you've done with Alex Salmond and the fact you've not given the legal documentations, I think your jacket's on a shaky peg, hun.
Put well-being at the heart of everything that we do. I think,
yeah, well, my well-being will go up when you leave.
I think we owe that to this generation. I certainly believe we owe that to the next generation.
You've not got a next generation. I don't have a next generation. So I would suggest that having a next generation is a priority. You obviously can't have one, and I may or may not be able to do it just now. But I would suggest that maybe actually saying to young women, maybe we want to go on dates and do things romantically and get sustainable relationships. Maybe that's it. But if you are a lesbian, then you don't really have that, do you? It's not, you're more interested in lesing up women rather than actually for them to be in sustainable heterosexual relationships. I didn't see this as a potential future problem, but because of your lesbianism and because you have got a requirement to les up women, then I'm actually a threat to you because obviously your desires for all women, just like mine is, even for lesbians. So there is a crossover there, but you're not going to produce any children. I mean, even Ruth Davison, who I respect as well, that she's only produced one child, and I'm sure she's married to another woman, which is 2 vaginas. So you have to have at least 6 children, and I think they've probably just got one. So I mean, that's obviously if there's 2 of them and 1 child, then we've got a declining population right there. So we're not going to have a next generation the rate it's going unless you're doing the population replacement immigration thing that you obviously have got planned.
Generation and all those that come after us. And if we do...
No, they're not going to come after. Who's going to come after you, Nicola? Who's going to come after you?
That's led here from the country of the Enlightenment. Then I think...
Yeah, and it's not the country of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Friedrich Engels saying he was going to commit genocide against the Scots in Neue Römische Zeitung, which I saw George Galloway saying, oh yeah, China, that's a great place, who follow the same principles, killed 45 million people, and George Galloway's singing China's, the People's Republic of China's praises, the communists, who are suppressing people as and when they want.
We create a better, healthier, fairer and happier.
You're not going to do any of those things. Absolutely stupid. And not growing the economy. Where do you think the money's going to come from? You got a wee tooth fairy. You're talking about having oil revenue and a greener New Deal. So you're talking about getting wealth from the oil, which is obviously polluting the place, and also having renewable energy. Make up your mind, what is it? So how are you going to grow the economy if it's not through entrepreneurship and the development of businesses and new growth? Where's the money coming for this fairer? Are we all just going to get poorer, fairer, greener, blah, blah, blah? But where are you going to get the money from? Where is the money going to come from, Nicola? If you're not wanting to grow the economy, are we all just going to sit about and sing Kumbaya?
Our society here at home, and we play our part in Scotland in building a fairer, happier.
Keep saying fairer. On what? That's subjective. Fairer for who? Who's it fairer for? I don't feel it's getting fairer. Don't feel the situation. I don't feel the situation in Scotland's fair. You keep talking about income inequality. That's good. So give us half your money then, Nicola. Practice what you preach instead of just up there waffling a lot of nonsense.
World as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll all be clapping when you leave. Thank you very much.